some students get into the mindset of being fearful with coding. Any top company is looking for candidates who have the right coding skills.
Where they have to emphasize on their tech education.
The culture of programming, the culture of coding is not up to the mark in a lot of colleges across the country. See, when I was in my engineering, I never thought I'll be a person who will be interested in teaching.
Hello everyone, this is 𝗥𝗲𝗃𝗃 from Smart Interviews and welcome to our YouTube channel. So today we are joined by Amit Bansal, the founder CEO of Smart Interviews, and we are going to be talking about a hell lot of stuff. So he's one of those guys who has been passionate about coding, who is on a mission to transform how we educate and empower engineering education. So today we are going to be deep diving into the world of coding and what does it take to crack a technical interview. So let's dive in.
So hi Amit, how are you? How you are doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, 𝗥𝗲𝗃. How are you?
I'm good. So just like before we start, I just want to ask like what's going on right now with Smart Interviews?
So a lot of things are going on. So currently we are primarily focused on educating students on coding and programming skills. And that's what have been our primary focus, and that's what we are focusing on right now as well. So we are mentoring about 8,000 students in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like I said, primarily focused on problem solving skills using data structures and algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at any tech interviews, especially for freshers, if there are 4 to 5 rounds of interview,
Mm-hmm.
the 4th round is basically on resume and the 5th round is basically HR round.
Mm-hmm.
But the first 3 rounds of interview are primarily focused on coding and programming skills. And that's what we upskill students on, and that's what really matters in the tech world. Any top company is looking for candidates who have the right coding skills. And when I say coding skills, it also involves problem solving as well as code debugging skills.
Before going to that, I always wanted to ask you, how this thought came into your head that you'll be educating students about all this stuff where they have to emphasize on their tech education as well as that engineering syllabus that they go through. Was that not sufficient for them at that time? Or when you started, what was the journey basically with that thought and that implementation?
So see, when I was in my engineering, I never thought I'll be teaching students or I'll be a person who will be interested in teaching. In college itself, we used to have internal knowledge transfer sessions between the students of the same batch. So I never participated in that because I had kind of a stage fear, and I never thought that I'll be able to get on stage and teach hundreds of students. That was never the thought when I was in engineering. However, when I was working in Amazon and 𝗙𝗵𝗃𝗆, we used to take technical interviews of candidates from multiple colleges, multiple backgrounds for software developer roles. That's where I realized that the success rate which we were seeing in colleges like IITs, 𝗙𝗏𝗍𝗍s versus the success rate that we were seeing in not so premier colleges was way different. The knowledge of the students on coding and programming skills was way different across these colleges. And that's where this whole idea struck that though we have learned from the right background, though we have been from colleges like IITs and 𝗙𝗏𝗍𝗍s, however, the culture of programming, the culture of coding is not up to the mark in a lot of colleges across the country. So that's where this whole thought came into picture, that we should do something about upskilling students on coding and programming skills. And I personally, I love coding. Like even now, I do coding probably once a week or once in 15 days. Of course, it's not as regular as I was previously, but today also I do coding. So this entire thing is driven by the passion which I have towards coding and the fun which students can get out of problem solving. So one thing which I've observed is students are currently, not all, but some students get into the mindset of being fearful with coding. The only reason for that is probably they are not guided the right way in their early days of engineering. So coding should be treated in a fun way and not something to be afraid of. If if people are memorizing codes or mugging up codes, they'll always be afraid of coding because every coding problem is different. If you change small parameters in the code, things changes drastically. But if somebody has not done it in the right way, if somebody has learned programming in the wrong way, which is by just looking at some 20-30 pieces of codes, memorizing them, or just understanding about those codes, then it becomes very difficult for them to face such situations. So this is where the students get into the territory of being afraid of coding. This is what we want to take out. A lot of times what happens is students write some piece of code and it doesn't work. They spend hours on it to fix it. They try random things to fix it and it doesn't work. But they need to understand that coding is not about applying random things. It's about a structured way of solving a problem. Only once they understand that the problem has to be solved in a very structured and a step-by-step manner, only then this fear of coding can go away. And that is a primary agenda.
Okay. So that's a funny thing that came to my head. How was your engineering? Like, what was your engineering college was like, and after that, like, what was your job like? It's like when you started as a fresher, and if you have some personal story, like some funny story about like your interviews, like, and how did you prepare for that?
So my engineering days were a bit different from what I see in today's students. So firstly, the culture at 𝗙𝗃𝗃, which I was exposed to, was way different. What I saw was the structure of learning, the assignments, the policies around CGPA, the policies around attendance. They were very rigid and they were mandatory as well. Like they were required for students at that learning stage. Like if you don't make rigid policies for this 4 years of engineering, students will fall off track. And once students falls off track, it's very difficult to bring them on track. So our engineering days there were a lot of coding involved in the first 2 years. If you look at every course that we went through, every course related to programming, be it C programming, be it data such as algorithms, be it databases, be it operating systems, every such course had a small project associated with it. So in C programming itself, in the first semester, we were put into teams of size 3 and we were supposed to design a small compiler for a language similar to C programming. So as part of that, we were involved in writing about 400 to 500 lines of code. So which is very different from what students does these days. They go through some 20-30 pieces of code where each code is like 10 to 12 lines. Doing that versus writing 300-400 lines of code is a very different practice altogether. So the first 2 years was full of coding. We used to do a lot of coding on, there were 2 platforms which were widely used at that point of time. One was CodeShare, one was Topcoder. Of course, Topcoder is not there anymore. It's rarely used. Nowadays, people are more into LeetCode. But I remember days where we used to just have dinner at night time, and after that we should just sit on coding problems. Like if you finish our dinner by 9:30, we should sit down on coding at 10 o'clock, and we used to code at least for 4 to 5 hours continuously, like from 10 p.m. to like 2 a.m. at midnight. And our college was a completely residential campus, so we had a juice shop in the campus itself, which used to be open till midnight. So we used to go in between to take breaks, and we used to go to the juice shop and have juice or something. And the college is very close by to do it DLF. So we also have some small bundis of dosas, idlis near DLF, and we used to go out there, take a break, and come back. So like the nighttime post dinner was mainly on coding and programming skills. And I also remember that there were coding contests done on Topcoder at 6 a.m. in the morning. So we had to wake up if we wanted to write that contest, we had to wake up at like 5:30 a.m., at least 30 minutes prior to the contest, and we used to write that. But today I see that mostly LeetCode is widely used, and LeetCode has coding contests at 8 a.m. on Sunday mornings. Even students are getting difficult to write those contests by waking up in a timely manner. So I'm seeing a complete shift in the student mindset from from when I was engineering student to the current engineering students.
So it depends on the discipline that you follow, right?
It depends on the discipline. More importantly, it depends on the atmosphere that you are in.
Okay.
So if you look at the culture at 𝗟𝗏𝗃, like everyone around you was coding, so automatically you'll feel like coding. Of course, there were days where we used to play Counter-Strike and Dota and all of that. Those days were anyways there, but a lot of time was being spent on coding skills, and that's where my coding skills has improved. And the process of assignments that was followed as part of the courses was again very rigid. It was very practical, and there was no pen paper work, or there was no requirement of submitting any manuals or anything of that sort. It was all related to online coding skills.
So as you said before, that engineering students don't really focus on what really necessary to prepare for these interview rounds that they go through. So what do you think? Like, what's the most common mistakes that they make?
So one of the most common mistakes that is made by student is, they start their preparation for interviews in the 4th year of engineering. They like how it is shown in movies. They assume that first 3 years of engineering are so just chill out and all of that. And anyways, we can just prepare in the last semester, very close to the placement season. The way people prepare for academic exams. But they need to understand that the BTech curriculum is for 4 years, and there is strong reasons behind that. The preparation or the upskilling of students in the tech domain has to start from the first year of engineering. So, in my opinion, the breakdown should be like this. The first 2 years should be focused heavily on learning computer science fundamentals, as well as upskilling them on coding and programming skills. The 3rd and 4th years are primarily for advanced courses like distributed systems, cloud computing, AI, ML, machine learning, neural networks, and all of that. That's how the 3rd and 4th year should be spent on. By the time students complete the 2nd year of engineering, they should have done at least 3 to 4 basic mini project sort of thing. The major project should start in 3.2 and should be completed by 4.1. What I see is students start their skilling on coding and programming skills in 3rd year. So what they have learned in CS fundamentals, in C programming or data structures in the 1st and 2nd year is already lost. They're again starting from scratch in 3rd year or in 4th year, which is unnecessarily taking out a lot of time. And the major project is being done in 4.1 and 4.2, which is a period that they have to focus on placement preparation or go for internships. So because of this reason, their major project is also being impacted. And what they do as part of mini projects in the 1st and 2nd year as part of these courses, they should always push them into GitHub. So they can create multiple repositories in GitHub, and they can push each project to a separate repository. That way, they always have an option of showcasing what they have done over the 4 years of BTech. So, like the main thing is they have to understand that engineering is both fun and learning at the same time. It's not that first 3 years for fun and 4th year for learning. It cannot be like that. If you look at any company such as Amazon, Microsoft, and all of that, they offer a package of 20, 25, 30, 35 lakhs for freshers, right? If anyone could prepare for such companies in 1 month or 2 months time, everyone would have done that, right? They wouldn't be offering such high CTCs to people who can prepare for such roles in 1 or 2 months, right? People have to be, or rather students have to be upskilling themselves continuously from 1st year to 4th year. And that journey of upskilling gets them such kind of jobs and opportunities. It's literally impossible to prepare for such companies in 1 week or 10 days time. Any college management will only come to know about such companies within a very short period. So Amazon will give a confirmation to a college 1 week prior to their visiting the campus. So basically students will come to know about such companies 1 week prior. So in that 1 week, they can't even revisit the concepts that they already know. Forget about learning new concepts. So their learning has to start from 1st year. They have to do things in the right way from 1st year itself. And it's not just only learning, right? They can also have fun alongside with it, which is okay. But the primary focus is being shifted from learning to just fun, which is what is hampering the education system.
Most of it, I think, is because of the fact that they like in you know in these colleges like triple IT, IITs or NITs, they come like they come to those colleges after preparing for like 3 years, right? I come from Kota, so like what kind of competition goes over there is something like the mindset, the psychology of those students is similar to that. Okay, like when we get to the college, it will be all good, but it's not like that.
It's not like that.
Yeah, it's not like that. So, what do you think? Like, what do you think about that? Like, how they can get rid of that particular psychology that they have?
So, the thought process is very simple, Prakhar. It's about what really matters to a student at the end, right? So, why were they spending time in the intermediate on preparation? Because they wanted to get into a good engineering college. Now, why should they spend time in engineering college? It's primarily for getting a good job, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the end goal, they should just keep working towards that. After you get into a good job, you'll have lot of freedom, lot of flexibility to chill further, to enjoy further. But until you meet that objective, you should keep working on yourself. You should keep working on your skills. Because see, I have seen students who starts at a fresher job with 3 lakhs package. I've seen students who started a fresher job with 30 lakhs package. The difference is quite big. Students starting at 3 lakhs CTC, they will probably take about 5 years to reach 30 lakhs CTC or even more than that. But the students who have started at 30 lakhs CTC, their career is set, right? Their career is set.
Can you share some tips on how students can prepare for their interview rounds?
So, see, when you talk about interview rounds, it varies for freshers and working professionals. For freshers, out of 4 to 5 rounds, the first 3 rounds are on technical, which is primarily on coding and programming skills. For working professionals, the first 1 to 2 rounds are on coding and programming skills. The third and fourth round are on system design and the projects that they have worked on. So, but if you see both the parts, the common thing for both is the coding part. So, see, there are multiple things that students can do. If you look at their platforms like CodeChef, LeetCode, 𝗏𝗄𝐻, which conducts coding contests on a regular basis. So students should pick up a platform and try to write at least 10 to 15 coding contests in a consistent basis. And it's not just about participating in the contest, but it's also about learning from that experience of doing the contest. A particular contest may have like 5 questions, right? A student may be able to solve 2 within the contest. The third one, the student may have tried but couldn't solve during the contest. After each such contest, the solutions are public. Also, there are a lot of people who upload solutions on YouTube of these coding questions. So the student should go through those, be it the codes of other people who did it in the contest, or be it through these YouTube videos. And they should understand and analyze for themselves whether what they were thinking or the approach that they were working on, was it the right approach or the wrong approach? And what piece was missing in the puzzle to be able to solve the problem successfully. So they have to improve their learning and their way of applying their knowledge to solve problems, contest after contest. So again, this is something I see students are not following religiously. They do a contest for the sake of participation, not from the sake of learning. Like today, if I ask someone, what is your LeetCode rating or what is your CodeChef rating? They don't remember it. But in our days, when we were doing this contest regularly, we used to have a target in our mind that this is our LeetCode or a CodeChef rating so far. And in next contest, we should try to solve these many problems for our rating to jump by this much number. We used to have clear understanding of how the rating changes, how many problems should we solve and all of that. We used to track that at a personal level. But again, like I said, these coding contests are very helpful to prepare for interviews, because if you look at the first round of interview, it's an online coding round. Limited time, limited set of problems. They need to understand the problem, think of a logic, convert that logic into code. If it's not working, fix it, and then submit it successfully. Very similar to how a coding contest looks like. So if you do a lot of coding contests, it will be very easy for you to crack this online round of interviews. When it comes to the second and third round, it's more about having a healthy interaction with the interviewer. It's not always about finding the right solution or finding the best possible solution in the limited time. When it comes to the face-to-face interview, it's more about putting forward your thoughts, taking probably some hint from what the interviewer is saying, and then building further on it. It's more about the interviewer checking whether this person can think logically, whether the person can convert their logic into bug-free code, and whether the person can work in a team environment. It's more about that. It's less about can you come up with the best solution in a limited time. It's more about evaluating the thought process of the candidate. See, in an ideal world, the interview process should be more about giving a project to the candidate, the candidate completing the project over the next 2 or 3 days, and coming back with the project and a discussion on the project. That is the ideal scenario, how it should be. But that's not practically possible because a company interviews hundreds of candidates. They can't give projects to hundreds of candidates, wait for them to come back with the project and then evaluate and then discuss that. That takes a very long time for the hiring process. So instead, with these short interviews on coding problems, the company or the interviewer evaluates multiple parameters of the candidate. It's about checking if the candidate can think analytically and logically. It's about checking if the candidate can use their existing knowledge to apply the same knowledge in a new situation. It's about whatever you are thinking, can you explain it better? Can you convey that idea to the other person? And can you convert that idea into a code? It's also about checking your code writing style. Whether you have put the entire code in a single function or whether you have written the code in a modular way. So it's also about checking whether the student has written indented code or not. It's also about checking the kind of variable naming that you're using in the code, right? So through this 45 minutes of limited time interview, a lot of things are being analyzed, which will be actually used when the student works as an engineer in that company, right? Because day to day, the company will be working on maybe fixing bugs or adding new features or adding new systems to the entire set of software that the company already has. So all of these skills will be used over there in a much larger scale. So to test all of this, they have this 45 minutes, 50 minutes of coding rounds where these can be tested in a very thorough manner.
It's like listening to that, coming to your past experiences, what experiences do you have with your interview rounds that you have been through? It's like, how about your first job? Like, let's start from there.
It's been a long time since I gave interviews, but I primarily sat for on-campus interviews in 2012, around December 2012. We had a couple of companies lined up. I remember the first company was Google, then there was a US-based company called Pocket Gems, then we had Microsoft, and the fourth company was Amazon. Of course, I got into Amazon, but not in the first three companies. So interviews those days were very different. Those days we had interviews scheduled back to back. Like on the same day, I remember we had Google interview in the morning, and evening we were writing the online test for Microsoft. So the interviews were scheduled in such a way in IIIT. I remember this very clearly about Google's interview. The first test was a written round. They did not have an online round back then. They had a written round where about 140 students wrote the written round, and about 12 to 13 were selected for the face-to-face interviews. I was one of them. In the face-to-face round, I remember that the interviewer was a bit experienced interviewer. He asked me a question on graph theory. Although I was able to answer that question correctly, but the interviewer was looking forward to a very specific solution. They were saying that although you have solved it using BFS, but I remember or I know it can be solved using DFS. Can you try doing so? So that's where I was stuck, and that's where I did not clear that interview. So this is also a learning for me that, a lot of times, although you have the knowledge, but because of a situation which arises during the interview, you may not get the final opportunity, you may not get the final offer. So that's where the students who are preparing for interviews these days, they should not just rely on one opportunity and assume that they'll clear that opportunity because they prepared well. Their preparation is one side of the story, but how the interview goes, what challenges comes during the interview, what different situation arise, that is completely different thing altogether. So we should not just bet on one company or one interview to get the right opportunity. Another interview which I remember was Amazon, which I cleared and which I got the final offer for. But during the third round, they asked me few things for my projects, which not the recent project, the project which I did in my second year of engineering. So one of those projects was about image processing, and I vaguely recalled what I did in the project. So the questions that were asked went deeper and deeper into what could have been done better, how else could you implement it, if you're asked to implement it today, how will you implement it, and all of that. And that the topic was very, very vague for me, and that round did not go well, although I was able to put forward some ideas and some thought process. But after the interview was over, I was pretty sure that I'm not getting through. So I did tell my placement coordinator that this round did not go well, so let me just go back to the hostel, because I know there's nothing else scheduled for today and I won't be making it to the next round of interview, so I'll just go to the hostel room and relax and sit down. So, but they mentioned that why don't you just wait for 15 to 30 minutes, the results will be announced anyways. If you are through, you attend the next round. If you're not through, your other plan is always there, you can always go back to the hostel room. Luckily, I don't know what the interviewer observed and analyzed. At the time, I did not know what kind of observation they would have had, but they moved me to the next round. But now when I look back at it, I'm pretty sure that the discussion was very healthy. We were bouncing off ideas of each other. We were trying to work out some solutions in a collaborative manner, and probably that was the reason I was moved forward to the next round of interview. In the next round, they call it a bar raiser round. So what they do is they try to test if the current candidate is better than some X percentage of the existing members in the team or the company. So again, it was a coding question. They asked a problem based on linked list. I was able to think of a solution. I was able to write the code. I was dictating the code as I was writing to the interviewer, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, what will this line of code do, what I'm trying to do next, and all of that. That was a continuous discussion with the interviewer. And at the end, when the code was done on pen and paper, I shared it with the interviewer to review. And of course, we were sitting face to face, and when the interviewer was looking at the code, I was also able to see the paper, and I was also going through what I've written, just to see if I can understand after a few seconds of what I've written, and will that make sense to the interviewer or not. So while I was doing that, I caught a bug. And before the interviewer could complete the sheet of code, I told him that I see a bug in the code. He was like, okay, you found a bug, which is good, but let me also try to find that bug. So ultimately, he was also able to find the bug, and he said that, yes, there is a bug in the code, can you fix it? Then I said, this is a bug and this is the fix for it. So that went well, and finally I got the offer. So that was about my interview experiences.
Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you liked it. To enjoy more content like this, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please let us know in the comments what other content would you like us to create. Thank you once again, and we'll see you in the next video.